When life hits us with unexpected pain, when we lose someone we love, when our dreams crumble before our eyes, there's one question that echoes in every human heart: why is this happening to me? What if that very question, born from our deepest suffering, holds the key to our greatest transformation? What if everything that breaks us is actually here to make us whole? Today, we're going to explore one of Buddhism's most profound teachings, that everything, absolutely everything, happens for a reason. And by the end of this journey, you'll discover how to transform your relationship with suffering forever. But first, let's begin with an ancient story that reveals the hidden purpose behind every difficulty in life. Part 1: The Master's Garden, a Zen story of hidden purpose. There once was a renowned Zen master who tended a beautiful garden behind his temple. Students from across the land would come to admire the perfect harmony of flowers, stones, and flowing water. But one terrible storm swept through, destroying everything: ancient trees uprooted, precious flowers scattered, the carefully placed stones thrown into chaos. The students gathered the next morning, expecting to find their master devastated. Instead, they found him sitting peacefully among the ruins, smiling. "Master," one student asked, "aren't you heartbroken? Your life's work is destroyed." The old master picked up a handful of scattered soil and let it flow through his fingers. "You see destruction," he said gently. "I see a blank canvas. You see an ending. I see a beginning." Over the following months, something miraculous happened. The master redesigned his garden, incorporating the fallen trees as natural benches, using the scattered stones to create a more beautiful pathway, and planting new varieties of flowers in the fertile soil left by the storm. When it was complete, visitors agreed, the new garden was more magnificent than the original had ever been. The storm, the master explained to his students, was not my enemy. It was my teacher. It showed me possibilities I had never imagined. This story illustrates a profound truth that runs through the heart of Buddhist philosophy: our suffering is not a mistake. It's not punishment. It's not random cruelty from an uncaring universe. It's a teacher in disguise. Part 2: The Hidden Curriculum of Pain, Why We Need Our Struggles. You might be thinking, that's easy to say when it's just a story about a garden. But what about real pain? What about loss, betrayal, illness, failure? Consider this real-life example that demonstrates this ancient wisdom in action. 3 years ago, a talented professional lost the job they thought was their calling. They had poured their heart into that work, sacrificed relationships, and worked endless hours. When the company let them go, their world came crashing down. They felt angry, bitter, asking that familiar question: why is this happening to me? But here's what unfolded in the months that followed, something that mirrors what Buddhist teachings have been saying for over 2,500 years. That job loss forced them to examine what they really valued. It pushed them to develop skills they never knew they had. It led them to people who became lifelong friends. Most importantly, it taught them that their worth wasn't tied to any external validation. The Buddha taught us that suffering, what he called dukkha, serves a sacred purpose. It's not here to destroy us. It's here to reveal us. As the Dhammapada teaches us, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. If a person speaks or acts with a pure mind, happiness follows them like a shadow that never leaves. Notice the word result. Even our suffering is a result, a consequence of a larger process of becoming. When we resist this process, we add a second layer of suffering on top of the first. But when we embrace it, when we stop fighting the current and start swimming with it, that's when miracles happen. If this resonates with you, if you're beginning to see your own struggles in a new light, please take a moment to subscribe to Buddha Coha. Hit that notification bell, because together, we're going to explore wisdom that can transform not just how you see your problems, but how you see your entire life. Part 3, The Butterfly's Struggle, Transformation Through Chaos. There's a beautiful metaphor in nature that perfectly captures why we need our difficult moments. Have you ever watched a butterfly emerge from its chrysalis? Inside that cocoon, what appears to be destruction is actually creation. The caterpillar's body literally dissolves. Scientists call it histolysis, breaking down into a nutrient-rich soup. From this apparent chaos, something entirely new is born. But here's the crucial part: if you try to help a butterfly by cutting open its chrysalis, you'll actually kill it. The struggle of emerging is what pumps fluid into its wings, giving it the strength to fly. This is exactly what Buddhist philosophy teaches us about our own transformation. The chaos in our lives, job losses, heartbreaks, failures, illnesses, these aren't obstacles to our growth. They are our growth. Consider Sarah's story. She went through a devastating divorce after 20 years of marriage. The man she trusted with her heart had been living a double life. For months, she was consumed by rage, by the question, how could this happen to me? She felt like her life was over, like she'd wasted 2 decades. But slowly, with the help of Buddhist principles, she began to see her experience differently. The divorce forced her to rediscover who she was outside of that relationship. It taught her to trust her own intuition. It connected her with other women who had walked similar paths. Today, 5 years later, Sarah says those dark months were the most important period of her life. Not because they were easy, but because they were necessary. They dissolved the version of herself that was dependent, that ignored red flags, that had lost touch with her own power. From that dissolution, like the butterfly from its soup, emerged someone she had never imagined she could become. The Lotus Sutra tells us, just as the lotus flower blooms most beautifully from the deepest and thickest mud, so the most beautiful thing emerges from suffering. This isn't about glorifying pain or seeking out hardship. It's about recognizing that when difficulties arise, and they will arise, because that's the nature of human existence, we have a choice. We can resist the process and suffer twice, or we can trust the process and discover what we're truly capable of becoming. Part 4, Dharma's Perfect Timing, the Invisible Order of Life. One of the most challenging aspects of Buddhist philosophy for modern minds is the concept of Dharma, the natural law that governs all existence. It suggests that nothing, absolutely nothing, happens by accident. Every encounter, every loss, every unexpected turn in your path is part of an invisible order that's far more intelligent than our limited understanding can grasp. Consider Michael's experience, a brilliant software engineer who was laid off during the dot-com crash in 2001. Michael had worked 80-hour weeks for 5 years, building what he thought was his dream career. When the company folded, he was devastated. He was 35, had a mortgage, a new baby, and suddenly no income. For 6 months, he applied for job after job, getting rejection after rejection. He started to believe something was fundamentally wrong with him. "Why is this happening?" became his daily mantra of despair. But then something unexpected happened. His neighbor, An elderly woman named Mrs. Chen mentioned that her grandson was struggling in school and needed help with math. Michael started tutoring him, just to make a few dollars. He discovered something he never knew about himself: he was a natural teacher. The joy he felt explaining complex concepts to a young mind was unlike anything he'd experienced in corporate cubicles. Long story short, Michael went back to school, became a high school math teacher, and today, more than 20 years later, he describes those 6 months of unemployment as the greatest gift he ever received. The universe, he often reflects, had to strip away everything I thought I wanted to show me what I actually needed. This is Dharma in action. The Sanskrit word comes from the root dhr, meaning to hold or to maintain. Dharma is what holds the universe together, the natural law that ensures everything unfolds in perfect timing. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us, "For the soul there is neither birth nor death. It does not come into being, it does not cease to be. Unborn, eternal, constant, and primordial, it is not slain when the body is slain." Your essential self, your true nature, cannot be damaged by external circumstances. What we experience as loss or failure is often Dharma's way of redirecting us toward our authentic path. This can be hard to accept, especially when you're in the middle of something painful. Our minds want to understand, to control, to know the why behind everything immediately. But Dharma operates on cosmic time, not human time. What seems like a delay might be perfect timing. What feels like rejection might be protection. What appears to be an ending might be the most important beginning of your life. Part 5: The Art of Wu Wei, Dancing with Life's Natural Flow. There's a beautiful concept in Taoist philosophy that Buddhism embraces called Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-doing. But it's not about being passive. It's about learning to dance with life instead of fighting it. Imagine you're swimming in a river. You have two choices: you can exhaust yourself fighting against the current, or you can use the current's energy to carry you where you need to go. Most of us have been taught to fight the current. We think strength means resistance, that success means control. But what if our greatest strength lies in our ability to flow? What if our deepest wisdom comes not from knowing all the answers, but from trusting the questions? Consider Lisa's journey, a woman who had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years, spending thousands on fertility treatments, organizing her entire life around ovulation cycles and doctor appointments. The stress was consuming her marriage, her career, and her peace of mind. Every negative test felt like a personal failure. Every friend's pregnancy announcement felt like a knife to her heart. Then something shifted. Lisa decided to practice Wu Wei. Instead of fighting her circumstances, she chose to flow with them. She started volunteer work with at-risk teenagers, threw herself into creative projects she'd abandoned, and focused on healing her relationship with her husband. 6 months later, relaxed and fulfilled in ways she hadn't been in years, Lisa discovered she was pregnant naturally. But here's the beautiful part: she later shared that even if pregnancy had never happened, those 6 months of flowing instead of fighting had given her a kind of peace she never knew was possible. The Buddha taught, nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. But once mastered, no one can help you as much, not even your father or your mother. Wu Wei doesn't mean we become passive victims of circumstance. It means we learn to respond rather than react, to adapt rather than resist, to trust rather than control. When you're facing a difficult situation, instead of asking, how can I fix this? Try asking, how can I flow with this? What is this situation trying to teach me? How can I use this energy rather than fight it? If you're finding value in these ancient teachings and how they apply to modern life, please consider subscribing to Buddha Coha. Share this video with someone who might need to hear these words. Together, we can create a community that supports each other through life's inevitable challenges. Part 6: The Ocean of Uncertainty, Finding Peace in Not Knowing. One of the hardest truths we must face is that life will always be uncertain. No matter how much we plan, how hard we work, how good we try to be, we cannot control the outcomes. This uncertainty terrifies most people. We spend enormous energy trying to create security, predictability, and guarantees. But Buddhism suggests something radical. What if uncertainty isn't the problem? What if our fear of uncertainty is the problem? Think of a boat on the ocean. The ocean doesn't become still just because the boat wants smooth sailing. Waves will always come, some gentle, some terrifying. The boat that tries to fight every wave will exhaust its crew and eventually break apart. But the boat that learns to rise and fall with the waves, that uses the wind instead of fighting it, that trusts its own seaworthiness, that boat can travel anywhere. There's profound wisdom in the words of those who have lived through great difficulties. One grandmother who survived the Great Depression, World War II, and the loss of her husband at age 45 while raising 4 children alone, shared this insight: the only thing I could control was how I responded to what I couldn't control. Once I accepted that, everything became easier. She had discovered what Buddhist teachers call the peace that passeth understanding, not the absence of problems, but the presence of acceptance. In our age of social media, 24-hour news cycles, and constant comparison, uncertainty feels more overwhelming than ever. We see others' highlight reels and imagine their lives are more secure, more certain than ours. But here's the truth: everyone is making it up as they go along. Everyone is dealing with uncertainty, loss, and unexpected turns. The people who seem most at peace aren't those who have eliminated uncertainty, they're those who have learned to dance with it. The Heart Sutra teaches us about sunyata, often translated as emptiness, but it really means the recognition that nothing has permanent, independent existence. Everything is changing, flowing, interconnected. This might sound scary, but it's actually incredibly liberating. It means that your current problems are temporary. Your current limitations are not permanent. Your current identity is not fixed. You are not stuck with who you've been. You're free to become who you're meant to be. When you feel overwhelmed by uncertainty, remember, you have survived 100% of your difficult days so far. You have proven your resilience again and again. You have resources, inner and outer, that you haven't even discovered yet. The uncertainty that feels like your enemy might just be your greatest teacher, showing you depths of strength and wisdom you never knew you possessed. Part 7: From Victim to Student, Rewriting Your Story. Here's where everything we've discussed comes together into the most important shift you can make: the journey from victim to student. When we're caught in the "why is this happening to me" mindset, we're casting ourselves as victims of a random, cruel universe. But when we shift to "what is this here to teach me," we become students of our own lives. This isn't about bypassing real pain or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that even in our darkest moments, we have a choice about the meaning we create. Consider David's story, a veteran who lost his leg in combat at age 24. For 2 years after returning home, he was consumed by bitterness. Why me? Why did I have to be the one who stepped on that IED? David's anger was destroying his relationships, his health, and his future. He was drinking heavily, pushing away everyone who tried to help. Then he met another veteran, a woman named Maria, who had lost both legs but was training for the Paralympics. You can keep asking why this happened to you, she told him, or you can start asking what you're going to do with what happened to you. That conversation changed everything. David started volunteering with other wounded veterans, sharing his story, helping them navigate the system. He discovered that his experience, as painful as it was, gave him a unique ability to connect with others facing similar challenges. Today, David runs a nonprofit that has helped thousands of veterans transition back to civilian life. I wouldn't choose to lose my leg, he reflects, but I can't imagine who I'd be without that experience. It broke me open to become someone I never could have been otherwise. This is what the Buddha called right understanding, seeing that our suffering can become the source of our greatest contribution to the world. The Dhammapada tells us, hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. You can replace hatred with any negative emotion, resentment, fear, despair. These emotions are never healed by more of the same. They're transformed when we choose a different response. Right now, think of something in your life that's causing you pain. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What strength is this developing in me? What compassion is this opening in my heart? What wisdom is this offering me? How might this experience help me serve others?" You might not have answers immediately, and that's okay. The shift from victim to student doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, like meditation or learning a musical instrument. But with time and patience, you'll begin to see even your most difficult experiences as chapters in a larger story of growth, wisdom, and awakening. Part 8, The Sacred Ordinary, Every Moment as Teacher. As we near the end of our journey together today, here's one final truth that has the power to transform not just how you see your problems, but how you experience your entire life. Buddhism teaches us that awakening, enlightenment, isn't some distant goal we achieve after years of meditation on a mountaintop. It's our natural state, available to us in every single moment. Every experience, the painful ones, the joyful ones, the boring ones, the confusing ones, is an opportunity to wake up a little more to who you really are. A famous Zen saying is, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." The activities don't change. Your relationship to them changes. You begin to see the sacred in the ordinary, the teacher in every moment, the gift in every experience. Think about the times in your life when you were most focused on avoiding difficulty, most invested in controlling outcomes. Those were likely also the times when you felt most separate, most anxious, most cut off from life itself. But the times when you've been most alive, most connected, most at peace, those have often been the times when you've been facing something difficult, but facing it with openness instead of resistance. This is what every spiritual tradition ultimately points to, the recognition that we are not separate from life, we are life expressing itself as us. Every challenge we face is a life lesson teaching us about our own resilience. Every loss reveals our capacity for love. Every unexpected turn shows us our ability to adapt and grow. The Lotus Sutra reminds us, the Buddha nature is inherent in all beings. Your essential goodness, your infinite potential, your capacity for wisdom and compassion, these cannot be damaged by external circumstances. They can only be revealed through them. So the next time life brings you something unexpected, something unwanted, something that makes you want to ask, why is this happening to me? Remember this conversation. Remember that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a student of life itself. Every experience is a curriculum designed specifically for your awakening. Trust the process. Trust your resilience. Trust that even when you can't see the purpose is always present. Everything happens for a reason, not because some external force is controlling your life, but because life itself is an intelligent process of growth and awakening, and you are both the student and the subject of that education. If these teachings have touched something in your heart, if they've helped you see your own struggles in a new light, please subscribe to Buddha Coha and ring that notification bell. Share this video with someone who might need to hear these words. More importantly, start practicing this shift from victim to student in your own life. Notice when you catch yourself in the "why me" mindset, and gently guide yourself back to "what can I learn?" May you find peace in uncertainty. May you discover strength in your struggles. May you recognize the teacher in every experience, and may you awaken more fully to the magnificent being you already are. Until we meet again on this path of awakening, remember, you are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. The universe is not happening to you. It's happening for you. And through you. Trust that. Trust yourself. Trust the journey. Thank you for being part of the Buddha Coha community. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore more ancient wisdom for modern living.